The marble lobby fell silent as three security guards surrounded the black man in the $3,000 suit, handcuffs gleaming under crystal chandeliers. Marcus Thompson adjusted his Hermes tie and checked his Patek Philippe watch. 3:47 p.m. The Japanese investors would arrive in 13 minutes for the most important meeting of his career. "Sir, I'm calling security," the blonde receptionist announced loudly, her voice echoing across the Meridian Grand's opulent lobby. "We don't allow people like you to loiter here." Business travelers pulled out phones. A young woman started live streaming. The security guards approached with practiced authority. Marcus remained perfectly still, his leather briefcase at his side. He'd chosen this hotel specifically for its reputation. Now he understood why. These real-life stories of discrimination happen every day. Black stories like this become touching stories when dignity meets prejudice. But what Marcus did next changed everything. Have you ever been judged before anyone knew your power? Ashley Morrison, 22, had worked at the Meridian Grand for 8 months. She prided herself on spotting trouble before it started. The black man in the expensive suit set off every alarm in her head. "Excuse me, sir," she called out as Marcus approached the reception desk. "Are you lost?" Marcus smiled politely. "I have a reservation. Thompson. Marcus Thompson." Ashley's fingers clicked across the keyboard with theatrical precision. She knew exactly what she was doing. "I don't see any Thompson here. Are you sure you have the right hotel?" "Room 2847. I booked it yesterday." "Under what name?" Ashley's voice carried that particular tone service workers use when they've already decided you don't belong. "Thompson." Ashley's eyes narrowed. She'd seen the reservation, corporate account, paid in full. But something about this man triggered her deepest suspicions. Maybe it was the way he carried himself. Too confident, too comfortable in this space. "I'll need to see 2 forms of identification," she announced, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "And proof of employment." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Proof of employment?" "Hotel policy," Ashley lied smoothly. "We've had issues with certain urban clientele lately." The businessman behind Marcus in line shifted uncomfortably. A young Asian woman at the lobby cafe pulled out her phone and started recording. Sarah Chen had 47,000 TikTok followers and a nose for viral content. Marcus placed his driver's license on the marble counter. Ashley examined it with exaggerated scrutiny, as if checking for forgeries. "This address doesn't match our records," she said, though she hadn't checked any records. "That's my home address. The reservation was made through my company." "What company?" Marcus's phone buzzed. Wall Street Journal. He declined the call. "I'm sorry, but I need to get to my room. The meeting starts in 10 minutes. Ashley's supervisor, Claire Williams, appeared beside her. 45 years old, 20 years in hospitality, Claire had perfected the art of polite discrimination. "Is there a problem here?" Claire asked, her tone already suggesting there was. "This gentleman claims to have a reservation, but something doesn't add up," Ashley explained, her voice dripping with manufactured concern. Claire studied Marcus with the practiced eye of someone who'd spent decades gatekeeping luxury spaces. His suit was expensive, yes, but anyone could rent designer clothes. His watch looked real, but replicas were everywhere. What bothered her most was his composure. He wasn't nervous enough. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside while we verify your reservation," Claire said. "Sometimes there are complications with certain bookings." Marcus glanced at his watch. 3:52 p.m. 8 minutes until the meeting that would determine whether Thompson Holdings acquired the Yamamoto Technology Group. 8 minutes until a deal that had taken 18 months to negotiate. Behind him, the lobby filled with whispers. Sarah Chen's live stream had gained 3,000 viewers. At Meridian Grand racism was starting to trend. "Ma'am, I have confirmation emails, payment receipts, and a corporate account," Marcus said calmly. "I've stayed at Meridian Properties dozens of times." Then you'll have no problem providing additional verification, Claire replied. Ashley, call security. We need to clear this up properly. Ashley's fingers flew across her phone. Security to the main lobby. Possible trespassing situation. The word trespassing sent a chill through the gathered crowd. Phones emerged from pockets and purses. The scene was being documented from multiple angles. Marcus opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Inside, Claire glimpsed legal documents, what looked like contracts, and an Emirates boarding pass. First class, Dubai to JFK. Yesterday's flight. I don't need to see your travel arrangements, Claire said quickly, closing the folder. I need to see proof that you belong here. I belong here, Marcus said quietly. More than you know. The security guards arrived. 3 men in dark suits, earpieces, and the kind of purposeful stride that said they'd done this before. The lead guard, a former police officer named Rodriguez, had been briefed on disruptive individuals during his training. What's the situation? Rodriguez asked Claire. Gentleman claims to have a reservation. We can't verify his identity or payment method. He's becoming agitated. Marcus hadn't raised his voice. He hadn't moved from his position. But Claire's version of events was already shaping the narrative. Sir, I'm going to need you to come with us, Rodriguez said, his hand resting on his handcuffs. The live stream audience reached 13,000. Comments flooded in, some supportive, some ugly, all documenting this moment in real time. Marcus looked around the lobby. The businessman behind him stepped forward. Excuse me, Jake Miller said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being heard. I saw this gentleman check his reservation on his phone. He clearly belongs here. Ashley turned on Jake with surprising venom. Sir, with respect, this doesn't concern you. We know how to handle these situations. These situations? Jake repeated. Look, I get it, Ashley said, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. White guilt is real, but enabling behavior like this doesn't help anyone. The comment hit the live stream like a bomb. Sarah Chen's viewer count spiked to 8,000. The hotel's reputation was crumbling in real time. Marcus checked his watch again. 3:55 p.m. 5 minutes until the meeting. 5 minutes until everything he'd worked for either succeeded or failed. His phone buzzed. Tokyo Stock Exchange. He declined the call. The security guards moved closer. The crowd pressed in. Phones recorded every angle. And Marcus Thompson, majority shareholder of Thompson Holdings, owner of a $800 million empire, stood perfectly still and made a decision that would change everything. The security guards formed a loose semicircle around Marcus. Rodriguez had dealt with similar situations before. In his experience, well-dressed troublemakers were often the most dangerous. They had the most to lose, which made them unpredictable. Sir, please place your hands where I can see them, Rodriguez said, his voice carrying the practiced authority of law enforcement. Marcus complied, raising his hands slightly. His briefcase remained at his feet. His phone continued buzzing with ignored calls. Sarah Chen adjusted her phone angle to capture the full scene. Her live stream had reached 15,000 viewers. The comments section exploded with reactions ranging from outrage to support for the hotel's position. This is insane, typed one viewer. Sue them all. Finally, a hotel that maintains standards, wrote another. Good for them. The divide was immediate and visceral. The story was writing itself in real time. Claire Williams felt the weight of the moment. 20 years in hospitality had taught her to read situations. The growing crowd, the cameras, the building tension. This was either going to end quietly or become a nightmare for the hotel. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us to discuss this privately, she said, gesturing toward the security office. I'd prefer to handle this here, Marcus replied calmly. In front of witnesses. The word witnesses sent a chill through the hotel staff. In the age of social media, witnesses meant accountability. Witnesses meant consequences. Ashley Morrison felt her confidence wavering. She'd started this confrontation, but now it felt bigger than her. The businessman who'd defended the man was glaring at her. The young Asian woman was clearly filming everything. Other guests were pulling out phones. "Look, maybe we can just—" Ashley started. "No," Claire interrupted. "We follow protocol. Security, please escort this gentleman out." Rodriguez stepped forward, his hand moving to his handcuffs. "Sir, you need to come with us. Now." Marcus checked his watch. 3:57 p.m. 3 minutes until the meeting. 3 minutes until Yamamoto Technology Group's executives arrived to finalize the acquisition that would reshape both companies. His phone buzzed again. Forbes magazine. He declined the call. The crowd around them had grown to nearly 20 people. Hotel guests, staff members, and a few curious passers-by drawn by the commotion. The energy was electric, dangerous. Jake Miller pushed forward. "This is ridiculous. The man has a reservation. Check your system again." "Sir, please step back," Rodriguez warned. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns everyone," Jake replied. "This is 2024. We don't do this anymore." Ashley's face flushed red. "You don't know what you're talking about. We see this all the time. People trying to use hotels they can't afford, causing scenes when they get caught." "Caught doing what?" Jake demanded. "Having a reservation?" The live stream audience had reached 22,000. #Meridian. Grand racism was trending nationally. The hotel's social media manager was frantically trying to control the narrative, but the damage was spreading faster than she could contain it. Marcus remained perfectly still, his breathing controlled. He'd learned long ago that composure was power. Let them reveal themselves. Let them make their choices. The cameras would remember everything. "Sir, last warning," Rodriguez said, pulling out his handcuffs. "Come with us voluntarily or we'll make this official." The crowd tensed. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The moment that would define the story. Marcus looked around the lobby one final time. The marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the oil paintings worth more than most people's houses. He'd chosen this hotel specifically. He'd booked under his first initial and last name specifically. He'd arrived at this exact time specifically. None of this was an accident. His phone buzzed. The caller ID made Claire Williams freeze. It was a number she recognized, a number that made her stomach drop. "Meridian Grand Corporate Office." Marcus smiled for the first time since entering the hotel. "I should probably take this." "Sir, you are not," Rodriguez began. Marcus raised one finger, not aggressive, not threatening, just a simple gesture that somehow commanded the entire room's attention. "Hello, Richard," Marcus said into the phone. "Yes, I'm here, at the Meridian Grand, having a fascinating conversation with your staff." Claire Williams felt the blood drain from her face. Richard Blackstone was the CEO of Meridian Grand Hotels. He was also her boss's boss's boss. And this man was speaking to him like an old friend. "Code red situation?" Marcus continued, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by the security guards. "I think that's accurate." The phones in the crowd kept recording. The live stream audience had reached 30,000, but suddenly the energy in the room shifted. The security guards looked confused. Claire Williams looked terrified. Marcus handed his phone to Rodriguez. "He'd like to speak with you." Rodriguez took the phone reluctantly. "Hello? Yes, this is Rodriguez. Yes, sir. I understand. Yes, sir. Right away, sir." He handed the phone back to Marcus, his face pale. "Everyone step back. Now." The crowd stirred, confused. The script had suddenly flipped. The man they'd been threatening was now being protected. Ashley Morrison felt panic rising in her chest. "What's happening? Who was that?" Claire Williams grabbed Ashley's arm. "Shut up. Right now. Don't say another word." But Ashley was past listening. The adrenaline, the crowd, the cameras, it was all too much. "I don't care who he called. This is still suspicious. We don't know who he really is." Marcus checked his watch. 3:59 p.m. 1 minute until the meeting. 1 minute until the revelation that would change everything. He looked directly at Ashley, then at Claire, then at the cameras that were documenting every second. "You're right," he said quietly. "You don't know who I really am." The Japanese investors appeared in the lobby entrance. 3 men in identical dark suits, moving with the precision of people accustomed to billion-dollar negotiations. They paused, taking in the scene. The crowd, the cameras, the security guards. The man in the expensive suit standing calmly in the center of it all. Yamamoto himself, the 73-year-old patriarch of the technology empire, stepped forward. He'd built his fortune on reading people, on understanding power dynamics, on recognizing strength even in difficult circumstances. He bowed slightly to Marcus. "Thompson-san, are you ready for our meeting?" The lobby fell completely silent. Even the live stream comments paused. Thompson-san. The Japanese investors knew him. They'd come here specifically to meet with him. Ashley Morrison's world tilted. Claire Williams felt her career crumbling. The security guard stepped back, and Marcus Thompson, owner of Thompson Holdings, majority shareholder of Meridian Grand Hotels, smiled. "Yes," he said, "I think we're ready to begin." The silence in the lobby was deafening. Sarah Chen's live stream had reached 28,000 viewers, but even the comment section had gone quiet. Everyone was processing what they'd just witnessed. Marcus Thompson walked to the reception desk and placed his hands on the marble surface. Ashley Morrison stared at him. Her earlier confidence completely evaporated. "Ashley," Marcus said quietly, "could you please check the reservation system again? Look for Thompson Holdings." Ashley's fingers trembled as she typed. The screen populated with information that made her stomach drop. Corporate account, established 2022. VIP status, unlimited credit authorization. And at the bottom, a note that made her blood run cold. Primary account holder, M. Thompson, CEO. "I don't understand," Ashley whispered. Claire Williams pushed past Ashley and read the screen. Her 20 years in hospitality had taught her to recognize power, but she'd missed this completely. The VIP protocols, the automatic upgrades, the corporate billing, it was all there. "Mr. Thompson," Claire said, her voice barely audible, "I apologize for the confusion. We'll get you checked in immediately." Marcus shook his head. "I'm not confused, Claire. Are you confused?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Claire Williams had built her career on managing difficult situations, but this was beyond anything she'd experienced. Rodriguez approached cautiously. "Sir, I need to understand what just happened. Who exactly are you?" Marcus looked around the lobby. The crowd was still there, phones still recording, but the energy had completely shifted. The Japanese investors waited patiently, accustomed to American corporate theater. "I'm Marcus Thompson," he said simply. "I own Thompson Holdings, LLC. Thompson Holdings owns 67% of Meridian Grand Hotels, which means I own this hotel and 46 others." The impact of his words rippled through the crowd like a shockwave. Sarah Chen's live stream exploded with comments. The viewer count hit 39,000. "No way," someone typed. "This is insane." "I'm dying," wrote another. "The owner got treated like a criminal." Ashley Morrison felt her knees buckle. She'd just called security on the owner of the hotel. She'd accused him of trespassing in his own building. "That's impossible," Ashley said, her voice cracking. You're just... "Black?" Marcus finished. "Yes, I am. Does that change the mathematics of corporate ownership?" Jake Miller stepped forward, his businessman's instincts finally catching up. "Thompson Holdings. You're the private equity firm that's been buying up hospitality properties." "Among other things," Marcus confirmed. Claire Williams felt the walls closing in. She'd supervised the humiliation of her ultimate boss, the man who controlled her paycheck, her career, her future. "Mr. Thompson, please, we can explain." "Can you?" Marcus interrupted. "Please, explain to me why my own employees called security on me. Explain why I was accused of trespassing in my own hotel. Explain why your staff assumed I was a criminal." The questions weren't rhetorical. They were an indictment, and everyone in the lobby knew it. Yamamoto spoke quietly to his associates in Japanese. Marcus understood enough to know they were discussing the situation, evaluating whether American corporate culture was compatible with Japanese business values. "Yamamoto-san," Marcus said, switching to passable Japanese. "I apologize for the delay. Shall we proceed with our meeting?" The old man studied Marcus with new respect. A black American CEO who spoke Japanese, who owned a hotel empire, who maintained dignity under pressure. This was the kind of leader he could do business with. "Yes," Yamamoto replied in English. "But first, I think we should discuss what we just witnessed." Marcus nodded. "You're right. This is exactly why we need to have this conversation." He turned to face the crowd, the cameras, the live stream audience that had grown to 44,000 viewers. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you just saw is why I decided to test my own hotels. For the past 6 months, Thompson Holdings has been conducting bias audits across our properties. We hire actors to pose as guests. We record interactions. We measure service quality based on race, gender, and perceived economic status." The revelation hit the crowd like a second shockwave. This wasn't just discrimination. This was systematic testing. This was data collection. "Today wasn't an accident," Marcus continued. "I booked this room under my first initial specifically to see how my staff would treat a black guest. I arrived at this time specifically to create pressure. I wore this suit specifically to test whether expensive clothing would overcome racial bias." Ashley Morrison realized she was crying. Not from sadness, but from the dawning horror of what she'd done. She'd failed a test she didn't know she was taking. The cameras you see recording this moment, they're not just phones. We have professional documentation equipment throughout this hotel. Every word you've spoken, every decision you've made, every assumption you've revealed, it's all been recorded. Claire Williams felt her career ending in real time. "Mr. Thompson, please..." "Please what?" Marcus asked. "Please ignore the fact that your first instinct was to call security? Please overlook the fact that you accused me of lying about my own reservation? Please forget that you told your staff to treat me like a criminal?" The Japanese investors watched with fascination. This wasn't just a business meeting anymore. This was a masterclass in corporate accountability. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed the screen to the crowd. "I've received 17 calls in the past 12 minutes. Forbes magazine, Wall Street Journal, Tokyo Stock Exchange, CNN. They're all calling because Thompson Holdings' acquisition of Yamamoto Technology Group is the largest private equity deal in the hospitality tech sector this year." The numbers were staggering. The audience was beginning to understand the scope of what they'd witnessed. The man you just watched being threatened with arrest controls assets worth $2.3 billion. The man you assumed was a criminal has been featured on the cover of Forbes magazine 3 times. The man you treated like a trespasser graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Business School. Sarah Chen's live stream had reached 47,000 viewers. The story was spreading across social media platforms, news outlets, and business networks. "But here's what really matters," Marcus continued. "None of that should be necessary. A guest's worth shouldn't be determined by their net worth. A person's dignity shouldn't depend on their corporate position. Respect shouldn't require a resume." The crowd was silent, processing the magnitude of what they'd witnessed and participated in. Ashley Morrison stepped forward, her voice barely audible. "Mr. Thompson, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "You didn't know what?" Marcus asked gently. "You didn't know I was wealthy? You didn't know I owned the hotel? Or you didn't know I was human?" The question hung in the air like a judgment. Ashley had no answer. Marcus turned to the Japanese investors. Yamamoto-san, in your culture, respect is fundamental to business relationships. What you've seen today is why Thompson Holdings is committed to changing American hospitality culture. We want to build companies that reflect dignity, not bias. Yamamoto nodded slowly. This is why we are here. We believe in your vision. The acquisition deal that had brought Marcus to this hotel was still happening. Despite the chaos, despite the public humiliation of his own staff, the business would continue. But everything else was about to change. Marcus looked at the cameras one final time. What happens next will determine whether this story becomes a cautionary tale or a catalyst for change. The choice is yours. The hotel's executive conference room filled with a tension that had nothing to do with the panoramic city views. Marcus Thompson sat at the head of the mahogany table, his briefcase open, documents spread precisely before him. The Japanese investors occupied one side of the table, their expressions unreadable. Claire Williams and Ashley Morrison sat across from them, looking like defendants awaiting sentence. Rodriguez stood near the door, unsure whether he was security or witness. The wall-mounted screen displayed a video conference connection. Richard Blackstone, CEO of Meridian Grand Hotels, appeared on screen from his Manhattan office. His face was pale, his usually confident demeanor shaken. "Marcus," Blackstone began, "I want to apologize." "Richard," Marcus interrupted quietly, "we'll discuss apologies later. Right now, we need to address the business implications of what happened today." Marcus opened his laptop and projected a presentation onto the room's second screen. The first slide showed real-time social media metrics. #Meridian. Grand Racism had 300,000 mentions. The hotel's stock price had dropped 1.8% in 30 minutes. "These numbers represent immediate financial impact," Marcus said, his voice steady. "But they're just the beginning." He clicked to the next slide. "Ashley, during your interaction with me, you used the phrase 'people like you' 3 times. You demanded proof of employment from a guest with a confirmed reservation. You told your supervisor I was probably selling drugs." Ashley's face crumpled. "I never said—" "We have audio recordings," Marcus continued. "Complete transcripts. Professional lip readers for the whispered comments, every word documented." Claire Williams felt her world collapsing. "Mr. Thompson, surely we can handle this internally." "Can we?" Marcus asked. "Because this isn't isolated. Our bias audits have documented similar incidents at 23 of our 47 properties. The pattern is systematic." He clicked to a slide showing statistical data. Black guests receive room upgrades 73% less frequently than white guests with identical reservations. They're questioned about payment methods at 5 times the rate. They're approached by security 12 times more often. Yamamoto leaned forward. "Thompson-san, these numbers suggest institutional discrimination." "Exactly," Marcus confirmed, "which is why today's test was necessary. We needed to document the extent of the problem before we could address it." The next slide showed financial projections. The discrimination lawsuit filed by the Jackson family against our Atlanta property cost us $2.7 million in settlement and legal fees. The viral video of bias at our Chicago location reduced bookings by 31% for 6 months. Today's incident will likely cost us $8 to $12 million in lost revenue. Blackstone's voice crackled through the speakers. "Marcus, what do you need from us?" Marcus looked directly at the camera. "I need you to understand that this isn't just about money. This is about the fundamental values of our company." He clicked to the next slide. "Thompson Holdings acquired majority control of Meridian Grand Hotels 18 months ago. We paid $847 million for the privilege of owning these properties. We didn't buy them to perpetuate discrimination." The room fell silent. The magnitude of Marcus's investment and his power was undeniable. "Ashley," Marcus said, turning to the young receptionist, "you're terminated, effective immediately." Ashley's sobs filled the room. Please, I need this job. I have student loans. You should have considered that before you called security on a guest for being black, Marcus replied. Your actions today will cost this hotel millions of dollars. Your bias training scores were failing. Your supervisor notes document 3 previous incidents of discriminatory behavior. He clicked to the next slide, showing Ashley's employment file. You were on probation for treating a Hispanic family rudely in March. You were written up for inappropriate comments about Muslim guests in May. Today wasn't an aberration. It was a pattern. Claire Williams tried to speak. Mr. Thompson, I take full responsibility. Do you? Marcus asked. Because when you arrived at the front desk, you had a choice. You could have checked the reservation system. You could have called my office. You could have asked questions. Instead, you immediately sided with your subordinate and escalated the situation. The next slide showed Claire's management record. You've been with Meridian Grand for 6 years. In that time, guest complaints about discriminatory treatment have increased 34% at properties under your supervision. Claire's face went white. I didn't realize. You didn't realize because you didn't want to realize, Marcus said. Willful ignorance isn't a defense, it's part of the problem. He clicked to the final slide. Here's what happens next. Ashley, you're fired. No severance, no references. Your actions today violated federal civil rights law, and we'll be reporting this incident to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Ashley's crying intensified. This will ruin my career. Your career in hospitality is over, Marcus confirmed. You've proven you can't be trusted to treat all guests with dignity. He turned to Claire. You're suspended pending investigation. We'll be conducting a comprehensive review of your management practices. If the pattern of discrimination continues, your employment will be terminated. Claire nodded miserably. I understand. Rodriguez, Marcus continued, you followed protocol as you understood it, but that protocol needs to change. All security personnel will receive mandatory bias training within 30 days. We're also implementing a new policy. Security cannot be called on guests unless there's evidence of actual criminal behavior. Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably. Yes, sir. Yamamoto spoke quietly. Thompson-san, how do you ensure this doesn't happen again? Marcus smiled for the first time in the meeting. That's an excellent question, and it's directly relevant to our acquisition discussion. He opened a new presentation. Yamamoto Technology Group has developed artificial intelligence systems that can detect bias in real time, facial recognition software that measures service quality, audio analysis that identifies discriminatory language. This technology could revolutionize hospitality. The Japanese investors exchanged glances. This was why they were here. We propose implementing your AI systems across all Thompson Holdings properties, Marcus continued. Real-time monitoring of guest interactions, automated alerts for bias incidents, data-driven training programs for staff. The numbers were staggering. The technology was cutting edge. The potential impact was enormous. The acquisition isn't just about buying your company, Marcus explained. It's about using your technology to eliminate discrimination from the hospitality industry. Blackstone's voice came through the speakers. Marcus, what's the financial commitment? $2 million annually for bias training programs, $5 million for technology implementation, $3 million for ongoing monitoring and evaluation. Total investment, $10 million per year. The room was silent as everyone processed the figures. That's expensive, Blackstone said. Discrimination is more expensive, Marcus replied. Today's incident will cost us more than our entire annual bias prevention budget. Yamamoto nodded slowly. This is why we want to work with Thompson Holdings. You understand that technology should serve human dignity. Marcus clicked to the final slide. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a choice. We can continue managing discrimination as a public relations problem, or we can eliminate it as a business practice. He looked around the room. I prefer elimination. The Japanese investors conferred quietly in Japanese. Ashley Morrison continued crying. Claire Williams stared at her hands. Rodriguez stood at attention. The acquisition proceeds as planned, Yamamoto announced. But we want to accelerate the bias prevention technology implementation. Marcus smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. The business deal was done. The systematic changes would begin immediately. The viral video would become a case study in corporate accountability. But first, there were immediate consequences to address. The Meridian Grand's lobby had transformed into a media circus. News crews from CNN, ABC, and local stations crowded the entrance. Social media influencers live-streamed from every corner. The story had exploded beyond a viral video into a national conversation about bias in corporate America. Marcus Thompson stood behind the reception desk, exactly where he'd been humiliated 3 hours earlier. This time, he wore a hotel name tag reading M. Thompson, owner. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcus began, his voice carrying across the marble lobby, thank you for your attention. What happened here today represents both a problem and an opportunity. The crowd of reporters, hotel guests, and onlookers fell silent. Sarah Chen's live stream had reached 80,000 viewers. The story was trending globally. At 3:47 p.m., I was denied service at my own hotel because of my race. By 4 o'clock p.m., security was called to remove me from property I own. By 4:30 p.m., we had terminated the employees responsible and begun implementing systematic changes. He gestured to the reception desk. Ashley Morrison is no longer employed by Meridian Grand Hotels. Her actions today violated company policy, federal civil rights law, and basic human decency. She will not receive severance pay or references. The crowd murmured. Justice felt swift and decisive. Claire Williams has been suspended pending investigation. Her pattern of tolerating discriminatory behavior makes her unsuitable for hospitality management. We expect her employment to be terminated within the week. Marcus clicked a remote, and the lobby's screens displayed a new policy document. Effective immediately, all Meridian Grand properties will implement the following changes. First, bias reporting system. Guests can now report discriminatory treatment through our mobile app. Reports trigger automatic investigation and management review. Second, real-time monitoring. AI systems will analyze guest interactions for bias indicators. Staff displaying discriminatory behavior will receive immediate intervention. Third, monthly bias training. All employees will complete updated sensitivity training focusing on unconscious bias, cultural competency, and inclusive service. Fourth, financial accountability. Any employee found guilty of discrimination will be terminated without severance. Managers who fail to address bias will face similar consequences. Fifth, public transparency. We will publish quarterly reports on bias incidents, employee training completion, and guest satisfaction across demographic groups. The crowd was impressed. The changes were comprehensive, immediate, and verifiable. A CNN reporter raised her hand. Mr. Thompson, some critics might say this is performative. How do we know these changes will actually happen? Marcus smiled. Because we're partnering with Yamamoto Technology Group to implement AI-powered bias detection across all our properties. The technology launches in 60 days. The data will be public. He clicked to the next slide, showing partnership details. Yamamoto's systems can detect discriminatory language, measure service quality differences, and identify bias patterns in real time. There's nowhere to hide. A local news anchor asked, "What about other hotel chains? Will they adopt similar measures?" "I hope so," Marcus replied. "But we're not waiting for industry consensus. Thompson Holdings controls 47 properties across 23 states. We're implementing these changes company-wide, starting tomorrow." The financial implications were staggering. The technology investment alone would cost $5 million annually. The training programs added another $2 million. The monitoring systems required ongoing operational changes. Some will say this is expensive, Marcus continued. But discrimination is more expensive. Today's incident has already cost us $3.2 million in lost bookings. The Atlanta lawsuit cost us $2.7 million. The Chicago incident reduced revenue by $8.4 million. He looked directly at the cameras. Bias isn't just morally wrong, it's financially stupid. Jake Miller, the businessman who'd defended Marcus earlier, stepped forward. Mr. Thompson, I want to publicly apologize for not intervening sooner. I saw what was happening and didn't act decisively enough. Marcus nodded. Jake, your support today mattered, but you're right. We all have a responsibility to speak up when we see discrimination. The Japanese investors appeared beside Marcus. Yamamoto spoke to the crowd. Thompson Holdings represents the future of American business. They understand that technology should serve human dignity, not corporate profits. The partnership announcement made the business news. The bias prevention technology became a model for other industries. The viral video became a case study in corporate accountability. But the most important change was simpler. Meridian Grand Hotels would now treat all guests with dignity. Sarah Chen ended her live stream with a message that captured the moment. This is what accountability looks like. This is what change looks like. This is what hope looks like. The crowd began to disperse. The news crews packed their equipment. The lobby returned to its normal, elegant calm. Marcus Thompson remained at the reception desk, greeting guests personally, making sure everyone felt welcome, ensuring that what happened today would never happen again. 6 months later, the Meridian Grand Hotel lobby looked identical to that March afternoon when everything changed. The marble floors still gleamed. The crystal chandeliers still sparkled. The oil paintings still commanded respect. But something fundamental had shifted. Marcus Thompson stood at the same reception desk, watching his staff interact with guests. The new receptionist, Maria Santos, greeted every visitor with genuine warmth. The AI monitoring system tracked interactions in real time, but it rarely flagged issues anymore. The changes had worked. Thompson Holdings' bias prevention program had become an industry standard. 15 major hotel chains had adopted similar policies. The Yamamoto Technology Group partnership had expanded beyond hospitality into retail, banking, and healthcare. The financial results were undeniable. Guest satisfaction scores increased 23% across all demographics. Online reviews improved from 3.2 to 4.7 stars. Revenue grew 18% year over year. But the human impact mattered more than the numbers. Marcus received thousands of messages from guests sharing their own stories. Black families who felt welcomed. Latino business people who weren't questioned about their reservations. Muslim women who weren't stared at in lobbies. My daughter asked me why that man was treated so badly, one message read. I showed her the video of what you did next. She said she wants to be brave like you when she grows up. These touching stories reminded Marcus why the confrontation had been necessary. Life stories of discrimination transform into Black stories of empowerment when courage meets opportunity. The viral video had been viewed 2.2 million times. It became required viewing in business schools, diversity training programs, and corporate leadership seminars. Ashley Morrison had left the hospitality industry entirely. She now worked as a bias prevention consultant, sharing her story as a cautionary tale. Her transformation from perpetrator to educator showed that people could change. Claire Williams had been terminated but found new employment at a diversity consulting firm. She used her experience to help other managers recognize and eliminate discriminatory practices. Marcus's daughter, now 16, kept a framed photo of that day on her desk. This is what integrity looks like, she told friends. This is what my father taught me about standing up for what's right. The real legacy wasn't the policies or the technology. It was the principle that dignity isn't negotiable, that respect shouldn't require credentials, that everyone deserves to be treated with humanity. Marcus looked at his watch, the same Patek Philippe he'd worn that March afternoon. But now it reminded him not of time pressure, but of patience. Change takes time. Justice takes persistence. Progress takes courage. His phone buzzed. Another hotel chain requesting consultation on bias prevention. Another opportunity to transform an industry. These real-life stories of transformation continue every day. When we share Black stories of courage, we create more touching stories of change. Your voice matters in this conversation. Have you experienced discrimination in hotels or other businesses? Share your story in the comments below. Every story shared helps someone else feel less alone. If this story inspired you, please share it with 3 people who need to see it. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for more life stories that matter. Together, we can ensure that dignity becomes the standard, not the exception. Together, we can make sure everyone feels welcome everywhere they go. What would you have done in Marcus's situation? Let us know in the comments.